Endo's got his Brita filter. Hashtag not a sponsor. We have Sin with his maybe working internet. And then there's me. Hi. This is my podcast. It's mine. Welcome to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast. Your favorite, I hope, hockey podcast that isn't about hockey. It's a pretty niche category. I'd like to think we're your favorite. Today, day late, but today we're going to talk about the weekend that wasn't hockey, including getting to start off the show in another fun way. Before I do that, Endo Mills, how are you?
I'm good. I'm hydrated, flourishing. I feel great. I started a new diet, which is good, and I'm getting my shit together in life, which is great. I'm thriving, flourishing, unbothered,
and fine as hell. Speaking of fine, Sin, your internet's not fine, so we'll see if we have you for the full show at this point. But opinionated as I am, let's quickly go through the bullshit again because it's hockey. That said, I asked you guys about this too. This is probably going to be the last time that we'll be mentioning this specific topic until the conversation evolves a little bit. Not because, Jesus, it's been like 4 episodes in a row of having to start a show like this, and it probably won't be the last example. But apparently, in regards to maybe the word protesting is too strong from some people, but in regards to abstaining from wearing Pride Night warm-up jerseys, it's apparently gotten to the point where people like James Reimer and the Stahl brothers have a nice little group chat to support one another through these trying times and persecutions that they're going through. That was an interesting little tidbit.
Mm-hmm.
That spurns from, the Stahls, Eric and Mark on the Florida Panthers not wearing their Pride Night warm-up jerseys. And Endo Mills already has something to say. I'm excited for this.
The last time people found out there was a public group chat of NHL players was the Brendan Leipsic incident. If you're not familiar with that, it was Brendan Leipsic, as a member of the Washington Capitals, I believe at the time, ridiculing and belittling people's wives, spouses, and teammates in a group chat with a bunch of people across not just the NHL, just across the hockey sphere. I heard some other stuff about that wasn't released to the public, some more information from a colleague of mine, and it's not pretty. If you thought what was said already was bad, like there's a lot more there. It was rough. But yeah, it's wild. So we already had that situation happen. Who knows what's happening over there? I'm not accusing anybody of anything whatsoever, but just...
Well, it's never good news when you hear about hockey player group chats. It's never for a positive thing. It's like, oh yeah, we planned Jack Johnson's surprise birthday party. You never hear... No, it's never that. It's never that. So yeah, Eric and Mark Stahl overshadowed what was a fantastic night from the Panthers. We mentioned the outline of what they were going to be doing on the last pod. They released a statement that I'm not going to read in full, but holy fuck did they tell on themselves. Start of the second paragraph, quote, "We carry no judgment on how people choose to live their lives." Just telling on themselves. And then Eric Stahl just digging that hole deeper. Holy shit. Telling on himself post-game. He was told there was photographic evidence of him wearing a Pride jersey in Montreal, and his response, quote, "I haven't before. I never have. I haven't worn a Pride jersey before." And of course, in fact, he has. So when you have people embarrassing themselves to that level and to that extent, it is obviously going to overshadow anything else that happened. The Buffalo Sabres and their Pride event, again, the headline, more so than the event itself, was that defender Ilya Lyubushkin sat out, citing the Russian defense. And again, I talked about that on the last show. There is again, if you want to use the word validity, shit's fucking crazy in Russia. Things are constantly changing over there. I could not necessarily blame somebody for thinking, well, shit, what if something happens? Especially someone like Ilya Lyubushkin. Is Artemi Panarin going to be in danger of having to go back and play in the KHL and be home and face consequences? No. Is Ilya Lyubushkin going to be in the NHL for the next 10 years? We don't know that. So, hey, that whole thing. Nashville has a Pride Night scheduled for next week. Based on the current legislative actions in the state of Tennessee, maybe they won't have a Pride Night next week. Who knows what's going to happen with that shit show?
That's funny. The reason why I say that's funny is because they currently, on their contract, have the only openly gay NHL player in Luke Prokop as a defenseman. He's not with the NHL, but he's on the contract with them. So that would be a big slap in the face to Luke. 100%.
It would be. The point now, shockingly, comes from Gary Bettman, because that's how far down the rabbit hole we are. There was a headline from Bettman in the press conference that the NHL is to evaluate Pride Nights in the offseason after some players refused to wear these jerseys. My presumption, they are going to stop with warm-up jerseys entirely, because the idea is, well, the message of all the good stuff is being lost because everyone's focusing on the few who are not participating, which is true. That's what happened with the Sharks. Sin, when we were talking about the James Reimer thing, you mentioned the positive stuff, their approach on Twitter. That wasn't the conversation. The conversation was all James Reimer. We talked about how players like Logan Couture handled things. Kyle Okposo was asked about a lot of things. The Sabres captain, after the Lyubushkin news came out, neither of those players were the headlines. It's those who sat out. It'll continue to be those players. And for as long as that's the headline, what do we really have to talk about at this point? It's just the same thing, the same points that we all know. It's not for us an issue of these aren't important enough points to keep hammering home. It's just fucking depressing on so many fucking levels. And I think at this point, people will know what side of the, dare I say, argument, because it shouldn't fucking be one, but people know where we stand on this subject matter. And unless there's more beyond my personal beliefs or the Russian defense, we're probably going to not start the show on such a meh note from here on out. I think that's all I have for this, gentlemen. If you have anything to add, now is the time, or we can move on to viewer questions as we've been doing. Perfect. So with that, let's get to a couple of viewer questions. Again, the link to the Discord is in the description, whether or not you are listening on your audio platform of choice or watching on the YouTube side of things. First question comes from RG Dust. Street hockey or floor hockey? No, I would certainly, for me, it's definitely floor hockey. Again, street hockey, like, if it's the idea of literally playing in a street, I mean, or even like, the cul-de-sac area, which is what I would kind of do when we played street hockey. Number one, cars. Got to worry about, chasing the ball, because less chance of injury, I feel like. Because I think I've told this story before. We weren't playing street hockey. My best friend did grow up in like a little cul-de-sac area, but we were playing baseball. Wiffle. I think it might have been wiffle ball more than baseball, because houses were close. And no matter where it was, the plates were on the pavement. So I am standing at home up to bat, and I am standing, little did I know, on a little like loose gravel dirt pile. I swing this bat, and I'm a righty, so my right leg is my plant leg. The rest of my body goes, my knee does not. My kneecap pops in and out in fucking place. Now this will be shocking to people. I was 16. There were little kids around, but boy, in that moment with that pain, did I not have a filter in terms of language. So afterwards, not only was there the shame of It was kind of like when Mr. Krabs starts swearing in front of SpongeBob. Just just the shame of it all. Yeah, that was. I don't like playing anything on gravel nowadays after that. So
Trauma.
give me floor hockey and give me kneecaps that stay where kneecaps belong. There's no swinging for contact, whether that's me playing Road to the Show or me in real life. There was no swinging for contact. That is just, I'm going for it. You try to murder that fucking thing. There's no technique. And yeah, that is what happened. Endo, do you have a choice between the two? I mean, obviously you get your fair amount of time on the ice, but you have your you have your choice between street or floor hockey. Okay, Senior, it's going a little bit, but I did hear that point. Endo, street hockey, on foot or rollerblades? Because for me, with street hockey, it was always on foot too, because of said gravel. The pavement wasn't as quite smooth as it needed to be to not ruin the equipment or yourselves.
I played roller for a bit, but it was indoor, so it was on like a smooth surface. I tried. I would do like land training on my rollerblades, so I'm used to both. I still prefer floor hockey, and the reason why I prefer floor hockey is because a few years ago, when I was doing a rental game, you get the rare occasional rental game where you play in like a gym and you just play like floor hockey. This person had like this felt puck, and like I had never seen it before, and they basically it was soft enough so that way it would stay flat on the what's it called? Fuck, what's it called? On the gym floor. Mm-hmm. But it was also heavy enough, had enough weight that it could fly and go through. But it was also still soft enough that you would, if it were to like block a shot or get hit, nothing would happen. You'd be fine. It was interesting because it kind of moved the same way an actual puck would, but it was still like a lot lighter. It was kind of like using one of those blue pucks on the ice.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But I will do is floorball though. Floorball is so much fun. I haven't played out and played with the actual stick. I usually been in net because my hips are still relatively okay. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun playing that.
We'll move on. We may have lost Sin, and there might not be much we can do about it. From It's Called Soccer, F1 or NASCAR?
NASCAR.
Gotta love that NASCAR.
Yeah, go.
Okay. He might be talking obviously from like the watching perspective, video game wise. Endo, what do you prefer?
Like F1 or NASCAR in general, or like our F1 and NASCAR? Because they're basically the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah, let's go with ours, because in terms of like following the sport, I don't really think you care. So
yeah, I mean, like I really did not. Like my first game that I ever played was NASCAR Thunder 2003 because my dad was a big NASCAR guy, and he's like, "Yeah, play this, enjoy it." And I always remember like switching over to like the in pit the pit camera, switching over to like the cockpit camera, and seeing the guys go through and like fix up the cars, look at their monkeys going around all over the screen. I would laugh my ass off. But so like maybe like in that kind of sense, I like that. But I also had Andretti Racing for the PC. And that game was fun, even though at one point my controls just stopped working for no reason. So I'm kind of I'm kind of conflicted. Like I like F1. I suck at F1, as noted several times on stream, where I put regular tires. I put wet tires on a regular. Was a regular on wet? Can't remember.
I think it was a dry track, and you were going full wet tires.
Yeah, and you got so fucking pissed.
Yeah, because you were going half the speed of everyone else, and I got
couldn't
caught.
Go any faster.
I remember this because we were on Canada, and I'm sitting there in a war for first place, and you are Sunday driving the second to last turn. I couldn't fucking avoid you. To this day, bastard, absolute bastard.
I will say NASCAR because we've had some crazy experiences in NASCAR, and people watch NASCAR for the crashes. Let's be real.
It's true.
You watch it for like the racing, but you're really there to see crazy things happen. Like that one dude who pulled a fucking Freebird and went around the side bend of the track.
Sin, I think we have you back. It might have been a little robo, but you were saying? Big robo. Hang in there, champ. Hang in there. If you want to bail, like I said, feel free. Son of a bitch. Our next question from, and there he goes. Our next question from Endo. It's just me and you, baby.
Oh boy. Come here, let me give you a kiss.
Oh God.
Too big it's gonna pee. Sorry.
So I know you saw this question. From Foresight Hogan. Who is everyone's favorite?
What a fucking username.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh man.
Oh my God. Who is everyone's favorite McDonald's mascot? For example, mine is Grimace's Irish cousin, who was retired for supporting the IRA, Uncle O'Grimacy. If you're curious. And I had to search that up. And Uncle O'Grimacy is real.
Oh my God.
He's actually real. I couldn't fucking believe it.
Oh
there
my
was
God.
actually a character. This might just be a fucking internet thing, but he was the exclusive mascot of the Shamrock Shake. And I don't know if they retired it because of the IRA, but yeah, Uncle O'Grimacy. Oh my God.
Oh, Uncle O'Grimacy, what are you doing over there? Oh, I'm just taking up arms to fight off. We lost our one Irish viewer. Just pull us up and.
Oh my God. So I had no idea that Uncle O'Grimacy was a thing. So I tried looking up other options, like other mascots. They had a mascot from 2003 to 2006, the Griddler, who stole McGriddles.
Oh my God. I faintly remember that.
I don't at all.
Well, I'm going to stop you right here. Are you familiar? I'm going to cut right to the chase, to the most infamous McDonald's mascot that they literally cannot use anymore. Mac the Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also known as Moon Man in certain areas. Are you familiar with Moon Man? Are you? Listen, does this make you a racist if you say yes? Does this make you racist if you say yes or no? Are you familiar with his work?
So I've heard of like the whole Mac Tonight thing. There was what was it? Emp Lemon, I think, had a video about him. That was just phenomenal. It was right up there with Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on Garfield.
Oh my
for me,
God.
as like some of the best YouTube content I've ever seen. Anyway, continue.
Oh man, it's such a good mascot, such a good theme. Too bad extremists ruined it. God.
Yeah. So other mascots, there was Bernice, that was active from 92 to 2001. That was like an anteater. Like it looked like an anteater. Whose quote main personality characteristic remains her ability to eat anything. So we stand Bernice.
That's me.
There was some other really weird ones. There was literally a fucking Happy Meal box named Happy. Like he had arms and legs. And
oh my God. And like he literally looked like an eldritch like horror thing because his eyes are fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
It would terrify people. This like that launched like 2011, 2012-ish kind of, right?
It says early 2000s, but it said it caught on in the US in 2014 and was removed in 2020. There's Cosmic, COSMC. who basically looks like a Toe Jam and Earl character in a spacesuit.
Nice.
Which is fantastic. There's some weird ones, man. But yeah, Uncle O'Grimacy, I had no memory of whatsoever. Shout out to Officer Big Mac, um, who really should be the face of a cop. I just want a poster. All cops are bastards, and it's Officer Big Mac.
Oh
That
my
has to
God.
exist on the internet. It has to.
I'm gonna pull this up right here and post it in our.
Oh God, Jesus. Anyway, shout out to Irish Grimace and some of the other. I mean, and obviously there's like the Hamburglar and Mayor McCheese and stuff like that. Officer Big Mac. Oh, that's right. He was the reason for that fucking gym. That's right. So they're like the McDonald's playgrounds.
Yeah.
There was the burger jail that you could crawl into. I forgot all about that fucking thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Okay. Well, we're just going down memory lane here. Don't
It's the Mick podcast. There we go.
Welcome to the Mick podcast.
You remember McDonald's cake? No, McDonald's cake. My mom does, and I remember for her like 50th birthday, she was like, "I want McDonald's cake." I'm like, "I just called up their franchise here in Canada. They don't have that anymore." It's like, "Do you want me to get it from the US? Because like they'll charge you like $100 to get it shipped in for a cake." Like she wanted like so many different things. Like she wanted the cake, she wanted the pizza. I'm like, "Is this what it's like to be like your midlife crisis? Is like I want my youth."
Yes. Welcome to being beyond 24, where all you do is try to recapture your youth. Welcome.
I got another month and a half to go. Oh, yeah. Boy.
This is what you get to look forward to, buddy.
Dude, I woke up this morning and I had like back pain and I'm like, fuck, I gotta go back to the gym.
You're a natural already. Oh, God. Our final question from AJ. One game you want to play but either can't or haven't yet. For him, it is iRacing. I mean, the Resident Evil 4 remake is out, and I just simply don't have time to play it. Even like the new PGA golf game, I haven't been able to go back to Gotham Knights yet. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot between trying to keep up to date with NHL nonsense and then also dealing with, trying to stay up to date with like, oh, okay, MLB came out and that's a big game for us every year. So there's a lot. There's always a lot. It's tough to keep up with everything.
Oh, 100%. I think one of the games that I really want to play that I can't, and because again, like schedules are conflicted, is we talked about Army of Two a while ago, and part of me is like, well, there's a hypothetical where it's like, there could be or I can fly down to you, or you can fly down to me, or you do parsec, or like all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, all these plans that I want to do to like, have a real authentic like co-op game experience. It's like, oh, we're both super busy. You're getting married and shit. And you play other stuff so that way, because I know viewership for that's gonna like drop down a little bit.
I would tank.
Yeah. I think the better answer is a competent NHL game. That's what I really want to play, but I can't and haven't yet.
The one thing we all want, an actually fun NHL game to play that's not over 10 years old.
Yeah.
One of these days. With that, let's move on to some of the random things that we do have to talk about. Obviously, again, we lost Sin for the episode. He will hopefully be back later on this week. Sans internet issues. That would be great. One thing we didn't talk about last week, Endo, was the Isabel Cup.
Yep.
Because I have to be honest, I am about as plugged in to NHL news as one can be. I did not hear about this until 2 days before, and we had already recorded the show at that point. The Toronto Six, though, did win their first ever title, beating Minnesota in overtime. It was a great game. I did catch the game. It's tough. it's a little bit tough. It's a little bit bittersweet knowing that. I mean, again, for someone like I said, as plugged in as I am to the hockey scene, and obviously we've spent a fair amount of time, rightfully so, promoting the women's game. Man, the PHF struggled to advertise this game, even with it being on ESPN2 in the States. It's a little bit of a shame, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the same road we always go down when we talk about the women's game on the show. Is it's like it's just not where it needs to be yet, and hopefully it gets there.
That's like the big thing too. Is man, there's stuff that I want to say that I can't because I'm under NDA. Shit. Because like that was one of the things that was talked about during meetings, especially when I was doing my internship with the company, and they would talk about certain like promotions and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into the detail exactly what we're talking about, but just so many things that like they're not growing because of like internal conflict kind of thing. I'm not going to say exactly which things you talked about, but the PHF wasn't one of them because it wasn't being broadcast here in Canada yet because there was no team there at that time, so it wasn't something we talked about. But just other events and there's sports that grow in North America that have no coverage. It's because of communication and mismanagement of funds. And it's great that the PHF is they increased their salary cap. People are getting paid over like a livable income and being able to have certain benefits as well too, which is it's great to have, great to see. But the promotion of the sport, I've noticed, has only happened at finals, all-star games, and that's it. For example, the PWHPA, the Professional Women's Hockey Association, the Player Association, they've had a league going, and I've heard zero about it. There are 4 teams in that league, all sponsored by different brands. Harvey's, Sonnet, I believe one of them's, I can't remember the other ones, but there's like 2 other ones that like there's 4 teams that are sponsoring it. And they had 3 games. And then after 3 games, they had an all-star game. Like, how are you gonna have an all-star game after 3 games?
Yeah.
I get you have a smaller season, but that makes no sense.
Right.
Personally. Like, it was a bigger thing if, let's say they organize an event where the PWHPA plays against the PHF, grow the sport that way. Nothing. It's unfortunate because I know people who work in sports social media, they want to grow these sports and grow the events out of everything, but there's not enough money from it up front that the people who are running at the top being like, we want to promote this, but not giving us enough money to make it worthwhile. So that way it lines their pockets and has it trickle down to the people working on putting the post out and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate. Like in an ideal world, we wouldn't have these situations. Like I'm glad that ESPNW, which is like the women's ESPN page, which is posting all the NCAA highlights, is getting more of a package for people to go through. For example, women's basketball is growing at an exponential rate. People look at the WNBA and they're like, whatever. Like a lot of people talk about them, like the pay and all that. That's cool, but the minute you look at the NCAA and how they're treating those players who are going to eventually go on to go play in WNBA and maybe overseas other leagues, it's miles different than what you're seeing what basic plays happen in WNBA. Like that's the future right there. And like the whole point of what they're trying to figure out is figure out how to market that over and across. And I've seen barely any coverage for the women's NCAA at all. I believe Wisconsin won the women's championship title or something like that. It's just there's no coverage for it whatsoever, and it's unfortunate. And again, it comes down to financial investment and people willing to push these up on social media because you'll get enough people saying like, no, people don't want to see this, people want to see it, but if you keep posting more of it, eventually people are going to want to see more of it. It's just an appeal thing. Like look what happened when. What was it? TNT posted the Michigan stuff. Anytime there's a Michigan happening in the NHL or pro hockey, people go nuts for that. Like it's crazy that like 20 years ago, arguably you could say hockey was bigger than basketball. And now basketball is way more dominant in the market and just how things are over there. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think some people might be like, no, when was that ever the case? But people do have to remember that the NBA did go through a bit of a lull in 2 different kind of aspects, especially kind of the early to mid 2000s. There were some weird times for them where, yeah, after that, I mean, especially once you kind of get LeBron established in the league, and you get there were some weird times for the NBA. Maybe not directly 1-to-1, to not side against Endo, but in Endo's defense, yes, as crazy as that sounds, NBA wasn't always the king, I should say.
Yeah, like reminder that during the current cap situation with the NHL and the NBA, there are guys who play in the NBA right now who are getting paid triple the amount of money that Connor McDavid's playing.
Yeah, dude, there are bench players who in the NBA who are getting paid more than Connor McDavid.
Yeah. Just a reminder about that. They play the exact same amount of games. They have roughly the same schedule, same arenas that they play in, both of them, and one is treated miles better than the other.
Yeah, and I mean, you can look like Cap Friendly has historical salaries. And say, for example, someone like Mark Messier, the most his salary ever was $6 million. Like Mark Messier's estimated career earnings, $60 million.
Yep.
Estimated. Of course, we don't know for sure. You look in basketball,
Steph Curry
like right now, and Nikola Jokic is making $54 million this season.
Pingus.
And then like Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, I believe are the highest paid at $56 million a season. So they're making essentially what like Messier made in a season. Like that's how crazy that's gone. Anyway, totally off track. But you did mention the Michigan, and I had that written down as something to talk about because last week or over the weekend, Kent Johnson, the Columbus Blue Jackets, pulled off the Michigan. I didn't really feel anything. Like I hope I'm in the minority here. But man, I see a Michigan clip and it's starting to feel normal.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm in the minority and that the majority of people can still like see a Michigan goal happen and go, holy fuck, that was sick. But for me, I'm just like, we're seeing it everywhere. And that's probably what it is. Like we're seeing junior level players, excuse me, hit the Michigan consistently. We're seeing it in the NHL, and don't get me wrong, it's incredible to pull it off in the NHL because the idea of just how good are the people that you're pulling off the Michigan against. But yeah, for some reason, it's already kind of hit that point for me where it's just like, oh yeah, someone else hit the Michigan. Of course they did. Like that's just the standard of play nowadays is that, yeah, someone can hit the Michigan, and we'll probably see it a couple times a season. And that's kind of where we are at this point.
Yeah, not to completely derail what you said about about all this, but
you went
just
on
saw
a rant about about McDonald's mascots and Mac tonight. What do you mean derailing the show? It was never on the rails.
No, I saw another thing, and it looks like they legit are going to be canceling Pride Night celebrations. Like, legit. Yeah, more proof that hockey is for everybody. I called this shit out when they announced it. That it's not for the hockey. Hockey isn't for everyone, but they're trying to make it for everyone. And this is clearly a slap in the face.
Yeah, I'm trying to well, now you got me scrolling through a Twitter timeline, so that's
it's from Hockey Feed HF.
That's never fun. So yeah, we'll like I said, we'll see what happens with all of that. Fun. We were going to talk about the playoffs. Really, it was just kind of a setup. Like there are 5 teams to make it in so far. All 5 are in the Eastern Conference, including the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have made a postseason appearance now in 7 straight years. Basically, since Matthews and Marner were both on the roster, they have never missed the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But Endo Mills, how are they going to break your heart this year? If you could write the script, how are the Leafs going to break their fans' heart this year? What's your guess?
So let's write this down completely. So every year, something has happened to the Leafs in the playoff run.
Yeah,
it's either a star gets hurt before. No, it's a player they acquire to help them in the playoffs gets hurt right before the playoffs start.
Mhm.
2, your top players don't show up every night. 3, a player that you grabbed in as a utility role will play out of his fucking mind and then leave in the offseason to get a big fat stack of cash and have a better career. These 3 things are going to happen all combined. I mean, one of them's already happened with what's his name? Who's out right now? Ryan O'Reilly. I believe he's still out.
Yep.
With his thumb. So there you go. There's 1. Now 2 is, your star players are going to not perform every night. That's good. That's inevitable. And then 3 is Michael Bunting is going to play out of his fucking mind and then go over to, I don't know, somewhere else.
He'll go play with Zach Hyman in Edmonton.
Oh my god. And then Edmonton will finally get to the Stanley Cup final.
That'll be the way to do it. But yeah, so interesting there. Leafs fans not all that optimistic based off of, history, and who could blame them. The Boston Bruins did clinch the top seed in the Atlantic Division. They can clinch the number 1 seed in the East and the President's Trophy tonight if they defeat Nashville and if the Hurricanes lose to the Lightning in regulation. So that is, it's not even April. It's not even April. David Pastrnak, in 583 games, became the 3rd fastest player to reach 600 points with the Bruins. So again, David Pastrnak did it in 583 games. Ray Bourque did it in 569. He's a defenseman. And Bobby Orr did it in 461 games.
Jeez.
Again, we have to remind people, goalies did not know how to go down into the butterfly when Bobby Orr played, but that is still an insane stat. Also worth noting for Pasta, he scored his 50th goal of the season, 600th career point. He is the first Bruin since Seabass Cam Neely to score 50 goals in a season, just to kind of show that the Bruins... Now, I remember, for the Leafs, it was like, yeah, we have good players, but we don't really have the superstar until Austin Matthews showed up. The Bruins, in the same way, were kind of the same, at least in terms of that marquee goal scorer. Granted, yes, Cam Neely, 80s and 90s, but for the Bruins, it was like, hey, we have Joe Thornton, but it's like, well, he's a points guy. It's like, well, here's Mark Savard and Bergeron, but Bergeron's more of a 2-way. They didn't really have that top level goal scorer, and I said it on Twitter. Thank God the Bruins re-signed David Pastrnak before going into the playoffs. What a disastrous situation that would have been if they went into the playoffs and still had to sign him. The stress would be fucking unbearable.
It's like every goal, his value goes up by 500K or something like that. So score 15 goals, and then you have to go pay the guy 17 and a half. You have to pay 7.5 on top of whatever you were going to give him before. It would have been insane.
Yeah. It just nightmare scenario had he not been re-signed. That's the only way to put it. So thank God that he was. The other thing to talk about for the Bruins, actually, there's 2 things. But first, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. AJ Greer getting suspended for a game for cross-checking Mike Hoffman in the face. Look, again, I've had at least a base level correspondence with AJ for a bit now. I am a Bruins fan. He deserved more than a game. You can't do that. Apparently you can, though, because George Peros is leading the it's kind of an oxymoron. George Peros leading the Department of Player Safety. It's kind of an oxymoron. Yeah, the fact this was only one game, Mike Hoffman put out the video. There was the debate between Endo and I over said video, whether or not it was dried blood on Hoffman's face or essentially a version of Quick Clot, which I am on that bandwagon. Regardless, it looked fucking terrible, and he was very smart to record the video with said shit still on his face to emphasize his point. So I give Mike Hoffman credit there. Of course, we know what the Hoffman family, they're very media savvy. So
Yeah,
I had to. I'm sorry.
yeah. I'm pretty sure Sin would have some words for him right now. Oh boy.
Oh, goodness.
Topical.
Goodness. And the only other thing Bruins related, ESPN Films have announced a new 30 for 30 documentary on the 2011 Vancouver Riot.
Just as if their season could not go any worse. You can literally get them at it's the meme where it's like if you can look through right the screen right here, slow it down, you can see exactly where his heart breaks.
This is
Oh, man.
the biggest reason why I'm upset Sin's not here, because it would have been the Don Cherry impression. Oh, his gets up fucking blasted in the street.
Oh,
I wonder how they're gonna cover that topic.
Man, that couple broke up, by the way.
That was a modern day love story, though.
Yeah, getting finger blasted in the streets. Jesus.
That's the way. I mean, if they can't make it for life, then what hope do any of us have?
Yeah,
You know?
fair enough.
Goddamn.
Call off the wedding. There you go.
Romance is dead, and the Canucks killed it. Shit. So I am very excited to watch that, because that Twitter, when that's released, if Twitter's still alive at that point, will be very, very fun. So
We'll be chilling on Chillbo or some stupid fucking name of a website.
fucking it's Mastodon or whatever the fuck.
God, good band, shit website.
I agree.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Wild.
Soda.
Took you a second, but you got there. Thank you.
I
Wanted to shout them out. They're first in the Central. They might be the first team in the West to secure a playoff spot. They are currently without Kirill Kaprizov, but have a 5-1-2 record without him, primarily because Matt Boldy is going off. 9 goals in 9 games, including a hat trick. So had to shout out Matt Boldy and the Minnesota Wild, who are doing a damn good job right now and pushing for a playoff spot. Maybe they'll actually do something once they're in the playoffs. The Wild really haven't in about 20 years since knocking out Patrick Waugh and the Colorado Avalanche in an upset and a run to the conference final that was ruined by Anaheim. We did a video about that, by the way. We did.
Yeah, we
the
did.
5 teams to never make a cup final. We talked about Minnesota's journey. Look that up. It's on the main YouTube channel.
Yeah, watch it. So that way it makes financial sense for him to hire me as a full-time editor.
Yes, please. I would love to make that happen. I would.
It's a call to action.
It is. Support, watch the videos, fuckers. Like, comment, subscribe.
Honestly, I'm going to tell you guys a little hack. If you have a favorite creator and you have a Chromecast or something like that, grab all their videos, put it into a playlist, and play it on that Chromecast, like on the TV or whatever. Turn off the volume, because how YouTube works is they pay out in watch time. Yeah. So if you keep watching videos, it makes sense for YouTube to be like, wow, this guy's video is really popping off. Kind of like how the random that one, like episode 15 of the Ottawa Senators 2K10 franchise video has like the highest views on your channel for some reason. It's like not even episode 1, episode 15. I think it's because we said say happy birthday to Z Pops or something like that.
Oh,
in the comments. Yeah. The call to action was say happy birthday to.
I mean, that would do it.
Yeah, and but just do that. Put it on a playlist, shove it somewhere in your house, play it on loop, and it will literally it will print like equivalency of like maybe $2, $3, $4 extra per week, but it just puts it more in the algorithm and pops it out. Papa bless.
There you go. Endo Mills YouTube master. YouTube.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to brag, but I got like 500 views on a video with like 50 subscribers. And I stopped uploading after. I said I peaked.
I'm out. Mission accomplished. One of the other teams, obviously, that doesn't have a cup win, Seattle. They are currently in the top wildcard spot in the West. They have now set an NHL record for largest points improvement for an expansion team from its first to second season. They have already a 28-point improvement from last season.
Wow.
I was a season off from predicting they'd be good. I was one season off, damn it. Clostradamus, but not close enough.
It's so bad. That's so good.
Fuck. Well, hey, I need to, even if it's not a win, you have to act like it was a win. That's the internet, baby. That's how the world works now. Even if you lose, double down and say, nope, I won. So that is the way. The Oilers, it's Connor McDavid. Aside from the funny stat line that the Oilers have been red hot since the trade deadline, but Vegas and LA has been even hotter, so they really haven't made up ground. Connor McDavid, now the 7th player in NHL history with 60 goals and 80 assists in a season. Only other players to do it: Mike Bossy, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Steve Yzerman, Jaromir Jagr, and Bernie Nichols. So shout out to Bernie Nichols there. But yeah, I'm crazy for Connor McDavid every time we name his stats. I hope he scores 70 at this point. A little bit of other Canadian team news. Ottawa, aside from losing Jake Chikrin for a couple weeks due to injury, because that guy is like the fish from SpongeBob. Paper skin and glass bones. Gary Bettman also pretty much confirmed that they're not leaving Ottawa. Like that sale that might result in Ryan Reynolds being a percentage of an owner for the team. That sale is pretty much going to be dependent on the fact that they are staying in Ottawa, and the furthest they are going is to a new arena in downtown Ottawa. So it's tremendous news from Sens fans. I mean, that team is continuing to push for the playoffs. They might not make it, but they're putting up a fight, which is very, very nice. And hey, last week I got to be on an episode of Game Over for the Sens on SDPN. That was very, very fun. We didn't have nearly enough time to talk about everything that we wanted to talk about, but go check that out. That small network in the hockey community, SDPN. I don't know if you've heard of it. I'm sure they can use the plug.
You know what that means? It means you're a part of the Steve Dangle cinematic universe now.
It's true. I already was. I'll tell you why.
Oh, right, because you worked with him with the Good Deeds Cup.
I did. Yeah. Last year, they had a little shootout tournament with the Chevrolet Good Deeds Cup. That was really, really fun. So yeah, we got to work with Steve on that one. But even further back than that, when the Steve Dangle podcast first started, and this is my flex.
Oh boy.
When this show first started back in like 2013, 2014, actually, I was technically a part of one of the very first episodes.
What'd you do?
Because they had a situation where they were like rewarding people who were listening early with like, we're gonna give, because they were doing like the sponsorship with Klutz and Chara, that store in Toronto, the card shop,
right?
Who gave them cards to give away for advertisements. So I have directly from the Steve Dangle podcast cards in my collection that I got from listening to one of their first few shows.
Oh, that's cool.
So
it's actually,
yeah, I have been a part of the SDPN cinematic universe for years, damn it. For years. Acknowledge me.
Yeah, you did it before they they did it before they sold out, just like Marvel.
Hey, look, as a podcast that has had a sponsorship from a fantasy sports company before, I have no defense.
That is bet? Something
that, yeah.
Oh man.
Couple other quick notes really quickly. Montreal, they absolutely suck, but it's nice to see that like their players are having fun. Raphael Harvey-Pinard has just exploded for them. He scored a hat trick on home ice, which was cool. There's the continued talks from Elliot Friedman, quote, "The Jets have talked to the Canadians on and off about Pierre-Luc Dubois. We know that Dubois is going to end up there like 95%. So you're already looking at adding another very talented forward at some point. And then the best part, even above the Harvey-Pinard hat trick, Michael Pezzetta channeling his inner Tiger Williams after the shootout last night. The balls on that man. And the best way that it could have been summed up as a Reddit comment to be like, he is an EASHL character come to life.
I honestly, you're not wrong. He's legit just a be a pro player.
Mm-hmm.
Just grinding his way through the lineup. A guy who should not be in the end, just killing it, doing what he can. Oh man. I remember when he got called up like a few years ago, and I think the team was not doing so hot, but he was just like fighting everybody whenever he could, just doing whatever he could to stay in that lineup.
He was Jack Eye before Jack Eye, basically.
Yeah, he was basically the sheriff before Jack Eye.
Yeah. Now to have both of them on the same team, if they were healthy, I mean, damn. Make them tough to play against.
Who knows?
The Arizona Coyotes, their minority owner, the former majority owner, was arrested in Colorado on a felony strangulation charge. We don't have too much other info there, but certainly not a good headline for the Coyotes. If there are ever good headlines for the Coyotes, the only positive is on ice. Clayton Keller's killing it. And then someone who might be up there for Rookie of the Year. I still think it'll go to Matty Beniers. But I believe it's Matthias Maselli. 18 less games played than Matty Beniers, but is only 7 points behind him. That is someone who should probably win Rookie of the Year. But I think it'll go to Beniers.
I think it should go to Maselli because he's on a lower quality team and putting up that kind of performance.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's someone that needs to be put into the equation as well.
From the looks of it, and you never know for sure, but if he did not get hurt, you can rightfully presume that he would have been the outright Calder winner.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like that's scary. Like how these prospects are going for Arizona. Like you have Logan Cooley last week who went through, I think it was because right now they're doing the Elite Eight, Frozen Four kind of finals for the NCAA men's.
Yeah.
And I can't describe the words that he did for that move because he went around, basically went between the legs, then passed it off to another guy, through another guy's legs. It was insane. Like that's shit you see from like, I don't even want to say Gren, but that's shit you see from Sweats and Hut who like know exactly what to do because they're terminally online. That's the kind of thing. See, this is different. Gren's professional. If that's even like a term you can say for like eShow players or Hut players, he's a professional. I'm talking about Sweats who live in Gatineau and they just eat poutine, eat hot chip, and lie. That's all they do.
Our final topic is the San Jose Sharks, who I think it might be worse now, but have lost like 14 of their last 15 games and 9 in a row. They've won all but 2 games in the past month, all while Erik Karlsson has over 90 points. And I was going to update it by saying, well, Connor Bedard finished his WHL regular season as its leader in points by 36. He led the league in goals by 21. He led the league in assists by 1 over who finished in second and had 15 more shots on goal than anyone else. He missed 11 games. That said, as you mentioned, the Frozen Four is going to start up.
Yeah.
Boston University is going to play Logan Cooley and Minnesota.
Yeah.
And
Soda!
And Michigan is going to play Quinnipiac. And Adam Fantilli on Michigan. People were losing their minds over like, oh, his leadership qualities. And we're 100% going to see should he be the number 1 overall pick conversation. Like that is going to happen if it hasn't already. So some people might find that annoying. I'm not sure, but just know that is going to happen sooner rather than later. Again, if it hasn't already, he is going to be a hell of a consolation prize for somebody is pretty much all you can say because he is also very, very good. With that, Mr. Mills, we got to wind things down here. It's a shame that Sin couldn't join us for the rest of the show, but I can tell everyone, of course, he is still on the YouTubes. He is always on the YouTubes. He's a man of the people, so check him out there. Sin for the Win Productions on the YouTube side of things as he continues on with his, again, lovely new Blue Jackets franchise. So keep an eye out for that bad boy. Endo Mills, what do you have going on?
I was going to say, I feel bad for, Adam Fantilli's brother, Luca Fantilli. Overshadowed a little bit. The whole thing was, I remember because they both got drafted into the O. They didn't play a single game in the O. They went over and were like, "Oh, we're gonna go play in the USHL with Chicago Steel." And Luca has 34 games played, seven points, 2 goals, 5 assists. And you look at Adam, his brother, and it's like it's a big contrast of the two players. I mean, obviously he's 2 years older, and it makes you think what's going to happen like down the line, because this is his last year for Luca's eligibility for a draft. He's not anywhere going to be drafted at all, but you could see a situation where, oh shit, he finishes his school, and then what do you know? The team that signs Adam Fantilli signs his brother on like an AHL deal or something like that.
Could happen. Should happen.
Yeah.
Could happen. Endo, what do you got going on?
I'm playing Road to the Show. I can't hit shit to save my life. The game keeps putting me on Hall of Fame Plus, and I'm like, I can't do this, brother. But the second I went to go play Diamond Dynasty and do the programs, I'm hitting stuff, and I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this nonsense? Is it because all the superpowers and stuff you get on there, like it boosts up your player that much?
That can help a little bit.
The gear?
Yeah. I mean, the gear is just a general modifier for attributes. Yeah, I don't know. Dude, those harder difficulties, I mean, they're harder difficulties for a reason is pretty much all I can say. I mean, damn, just damn. But yeah, no, I mean, for me too, it's a lot of Baybaw at the moment and keeping up with the Chicago franchise and NHL 23 on the YouTube side of things. We will be back. And to the NHL at this point, fucking do whatever you're going to do, you fucking weirdos.
Yeah.
We're sick of it. Do whatever you're going to do. I mean, last episode, I said, here comes the NHL supporting genocide. Before I could even edit the podcast, the Stalls thing happened. Like, it's record time for these things just continuing. So, yeah, the NHL's fun.
Yeah, what a wonderful sport we have based our identities off of. Not gonna lie, it's giving me an identity crisis a little bit. That's why I'm playing baseball, but I never played baseball. It's kind of like, the quote, the man who was saved recently from controversy, Kanye West. Thank you, Jonah Hill, for saving Kanye West. It's kind of like the quote that he says about Lady Gaga. It's like, Lady Gaga, she's the creative producer for Polaroid. I like Gaga's music. What the fuck she know about cameras? Me, when I see anyone who's known for a certain thing drop into something else completely, I'm like, what the fuck they know about cameras?
We'll see you later on this week, everybody.